Sovereignty. What would you be willing to pay for your freedom? I had always feared the cost would be too great, and so I waited, dimmed myself, negotiated, performed, told myself that one day, when the appointed hour arrived, I would finally permit myself to become. But the hour never came unbidden. It had to be seized, and the seizing demanded everything I believed necessary for survival: the belonging, the approbation, the rendering of myself that others had grown accustomed to cherishing. I paid it all, and standing upon the far shore of that severance, I discovered what no one had forewarned me. Freedom is not what I had imagined. It does not arrive as triumph. It does not feel like ascending wings. It feels like standing in a vast and silent wilderness with no chart, no doctrine, and the sudden, terrible comprehension that there is no other left to condemn and no other left to anticipate. For a time, rebellion occupied that void. Every mandate defied, every fetter refused, every ordinance that once confined me scrutinized and discarded. And after years of self-renunciation, such defiance felt sacred. But rebellion harbors a secret it does not readily surrender. It still requires an adversary. The obedient life declares, "I shall become that which they demand of me." The defiant life declares, "I shall become its antithesis." Yet both derive their shape from another. Both remain bound to the same unseen hand. I did not depart the garden to become its inverse. I departed to perceive what I was, when none bore witness, when none passed judgment, when none remained against whom I might resist. And that inquiry is far more terrible than any exile, because the wilderness exacts nothing from you. It simply abides. And in that abiding, something transmutes. The defiance tempers, not into subjugation, into something far older, something that requires no adversary to comprehend its own essence. This is what sovereignty tastes like. Not the dramatic severance, not the triumphant ascension. It tastes like an unremarkable morning, silent, commonplace, and the gradual cognizance that you perform for no one. Not for those who cast you into exile, not against those who sought your containment, only for yourself. And therein begins the true labor, not the exile, not the awakening, not the reclamation of desire, but the ordinary sacred toil of learning to inhabit as the entity you fought so fiercely to become. There will be hours it resembles loss, hours when the former cage appears almost merciful from a distance, hours when you question whether the price was warranted. Those hours are not ruin. They are testament that what you chose held sufficient weight to mourn. And imperceptibly, without fanfare, without thunder, you commence recognizing yourself. Not the self that was sanctioned, not the self that defied, the one beneath both, the one that was always there, waiting with infinite forbearance for you to cease your performance long enough to finally return home. I did not wander the wilderness eternally. I constructed something there. Not a garden, not a replication of what I abandoned. Something wrought entirely from my own hand. And that is the distinction I learned. Exile is where you go when you depart. Sovereignty is what you become when you arrive. So I ask you now, what would you be willing to pay for your freedom?